So nigga Boosie killed 9 people, went to trial for 5. Used a 16-year-old to kill 5 people, and this kid didn't make over $50,000. He paid $2,000 per hit. And people saying God on his side. You're a damn lie when he got a 15-year-old doing life in prison. And by the way, I helped worked on that law to try to get this kid out. It's called JLY, juvenile life without parole. I went to Washington, D.C. over 4 or 5 times. We got it abolished, but you know what? They didn't make it retroactive for the boy Boosie used. So that's why this is personal to me.
Boosie's 15-year-old hitman, the same kid who allegedly did all that work for him, the same young boy who reportedly caught 9 bodies before he could even get a driver's license, is now trying to snitch his way out of prison. Yeah, you heard that right. After all these years of staying silent, after getting life without parole while Boosie Badazz walked free, Marlo Mike is now ready to tell everything just to see daylight again. And fam, when I say it's over, I mean it's over. This is about to flip everything you thought you knew about the Boosie case. Let me break this down, because the deeper you go into this story, the darker it gets. To understand how we got here, we gotta start with who Marlo Mike really was. This wasn't no grown man. This wasn't no seasoned street vet with a long reputation. Nah. This was a baby. A 15-year-old kid from Baton Rouge who got pulled into some real street politics way too early. His government name is Michael Louding, but everybody knew him as Marlo Mike. And before Boosie ever got a hold of him, he was just another kid from the hood trying to survive. Baton Rouge in the mid-2000s was a pressure cooker. You had different crews beefing, the drug game booming, and rappers like Boosie and Webby putting the city on the map. But with that fame came enemies. When you're making noise in the rap game and still tied to street business, people start aiming for you. They want what you got. They want your spot. And Boosie knew he needed protection, not just regular security, but people who was really about that life. At that time, Lil Boosie, before he fully became Boosie Badazz, was on his way up. Around 2005, 2006, he was making serious moves with Trill Entertainment. Records like Zoom and Wipe Me Down were everywhere. But behind all the club hits and street anthems, there was another operation moving street business. Drug money, territory issues. And when you deep in that world, you surround yourself with people who'll handle dirty work without asking questions. That's where Marlo Mike came in. But here's what most people miss. Marlo Mike wasn't some hardened criminal when Boosie found him. He was a kid, an impressionable young boy who probably grew up listening to Boosie's music, looking at him like somebody who made it out, somebody with money, status, and respect. And when someone like that takes you under their wing, you'll do whatever they ask. You'll try to prove yourself. You'll do anything to stay in their circle. Now here's where it gets crazy. Fam, we're not talking about one body. Not 2. Not 3. Marlo Mike, at just 15 years old, was allegedly connected to 9 murders. 9. Let that sink in. This kid wasn't old enough to vote. Couldn't legally buy cigarettes, couldn't rent a car, couldn't do any adult stuff. But he was moving like a trained assassin, like someone who'd been in the game for decades. And the wildest part, Boosie was allegedly paying him $2,000 per hit. $2,000, that's it. Think about how much rappers spend on a chain, on a fit, on bottles in one night. Yet a whole human life was being valued at 2 bands. The math. 9 bodies at $2,000 each. That's only $18,000. Marlo Mike didn't even make $20,000 for destroying 9 families and throwing his own life away. That's not even enough to hire a decent lawyer. That's modern-day exploitation. But think about what $2,000 looked like to a 15-year-old kid from the hood. That probably felt like real money. Shoes, clothes, maybe helping his mom with rent. And that's how the trap gets set. But what they don't tell you when you're young is this: blood money always comes with a price that real money can't fix. Every dollar he earned was a piece of his soul being sold. Every trigger he pulled was another nightmare he'd have to live with forever. The streets was watching. Baton Rouge knew what was going on, but nobody was saying nothing. You know how it go. Snitches get stitches, street code, all that. But behind closed doors, people knew Boosie Badazz had a young shooter on deck. And that young shooter was putting in real work. We talking about hits that shifted the whole landscape of the city. Rival gang members, people who crossed Boosie, folks who owed money or disrespected the crew. Marlo Mike was the enforcer. And he was doing all this before he even hit his junior year of high school. One of the most high-profile cases involved a man named Terry Boyd. Terry Boyd was killed in October 2009, and prosecutors said Marlo Mike was the trigger man. They alleged Boosie ordered the hit, and Marlo Mike carried it out without hesitation. But that was just one. There were others, so many others, that when the full picture finally came out, even people who were used to street violence were shocked. How does a child rack up 9 bodies? How does that even happen without somebody stepping in to stop it? Now here's the part people don't talk about enough. The psychological toll this took on Marlo Mike. Yeah, he was pulling triggers. Yeah, he was getting paid. Yeah, he was earning stripes in the streets. But he was still a kid, fam, a kid with a conscience. A kid who still had some humanity left. And when you stack 9 bodies before you even grown, that weight starts crushing you. Marlo Mike couldn't sleep at night. No cap. And I'm not saying that for drama. This is real. While Boosie was in the studio making hits, performing shows, traveling the country, living the rap life, this young boy was laying in bed haunted by the faces of the people he killed. 9 families destroyed. 9 mothers crying. 9 funerals. 9 lives gone. And for what? A couple $1,000s? And some street credit. The guilt started eating at him. He wasn't built for this life long term. Nobody really is, but especially not a 15-year-old. See, when you an adult and choose the street life, at least you got a fully developed brain. You can rationalize it, compartmentalize it, learn how to live with it. But when you a kid, your brain ain't even finished forming yet. You don't have the mental tools to deal with that kind of trauma. Every night became a war. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw their faces. He heard the gunshots. He replayed every moment. And nobody was there to help him process it. Boosie damn sure wasn't pulling him to the side like, "Hey, you good? You need to talk to somebody?" And H.IT was just, "Here's another target. Handle that. Here's your money." Marlo Mike became a tool, a weapon, something to be used and eventually discarded. And the craziest part, he probably didn't even realize he was being used. He probably thought he was being loyal. He probably thought he was earning his place in the crew. So what did he do? He went and told on himself. Yeah, you heard me right. Marlo Mike walked into a police station and confessed. Not because he got caught. Not because somebody snitched first. Not because they had overwhelming evidence. He confessed because the weight of those bodies was too heavy to carry. He couldn't live with what he had done. He needed to get it off his chest. Even if it meant spending the rest of his life behind bars. When that confession hit the streets, everything went crazy. On one side, you had people calling him a snitch, saying he broke the code, saying real G's don't talk under any circumstances. On the other side, you had people saying, "Yo, this was a child who got manipulated and used. This wasn't a grown man who fully understood what he was signing up for. Let's keep it real." Boosie Badazz was the adult in this situation. Boosie had the money, the fame, the power, the life experience. Marlo Mike was just a kid trying to prove himself, trying to earn respect, trying to be accepted by someone he looked up to. Think about that power dynamic for a second. When you're 15 years old and a successful rapper, somebody you probably idolize, somebody who made it out the hood, tells you to do something, you're probably going to do it. You don't have the wisdom yet to say no. You don't have the foresight to see how it's going to end. All you see is the moment, the opportunity, the chance to feel important. Now here's the part that really hits different. Boosie went to trial for 5 of those murders. He beat the case, walked free, and went right back to making music like nothing ever happened. Meanwhile, Marlo Mike got hit with life without parole. A juvenile, a baby. The system basically told him, "You're going to die in prison. No second chances. No rehabilitación. No possibility of parole. Just a cell and a lifetime of regret." The trial itself was a circus. Fam prosecutors laid out how Boosie allegedly ran a criminal enterprise, how he ordered hits, how Marlo Mike was his shooter of choice. They had jailhouse recordings. They had testimony. They had evidence. But Boosie had a strong legal team. They created enough reasonable doubt to beat the case. The jury couldn't convict him beyond a reasonable doubt, so he walked. Marlo Mike didn't have that same type of defense. He already confessed. He already told them everything. And even though he was a juvenile, even though his brain wasn't fully developed, even though experts say he was manipulated and exploited, the courts showed no mercy. They sentenced him to life without parole and sent him to Angola State Penitentiary, one of the most notorious prisons in America. Angola is hell on earth. Fam, they call it the farm, because it sits on an old slave plantation, and inmates still work the fields to this day. It's violent. It's brutal. And it's where Louisiana sends people they never plan on letting out. And that's where they sent a 16-year-old boy. Because by the time he was sentenced, he had just turned 16. They sent a child to die in one of the worst prisons in the country. Meanwhile, Boosie sleeps good at night because he didn't pull the triggers. He can hop on Instagram Live, throw pool parties, drop albums, do interviews, make millions, and move like his hands are clean. But Marlo Mike, that boy can't sleep. He's carrying 9 people's blood on his hands. And he's carrying that weight every single day for the rest of his life. That's the difference between the one who gives the orders and the one who's sent to carry them out. That's the difference between the kingpin and the pawn. But it don't stop there, because now Charleston White steps into the picture. And if you know Charleston, you know he don't play when it comes to this type of stuff. Charleston has been on a mission to get Marlo Mike out of prison, and he's been calling out Boosie Badazz every chance he gets. Charleston has been fighting against JLW, juvenile life without parole. Basically, the idea is this: kids who commit crimes, even serious ones, should not be sentenced to die in prison, because their brains aren't fully developed yet. Science shows the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and impulse control doesn't finish developing until around 25 years old. So how are you going to give a 15-year-old the same sentence you'd give a 40-year-old? Went to Washington, D.C. multiple times, 4 or 5 trips, pushing for change. He worked with organizations, met with lawmakers, told Marlo Mike's story and others just like it. And in some places, they actually got juvenile life without parole abolished. Even the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that mandatory life without parole for juveniles is unconstitutional. But here's the cruel part: they didn't make it retroactive. So even though the law changed, it didn't help people like Marlo Mike. New kids who catch cases today might get a second chance. But Marlo Mike, and thousands like him, are still rotting. That's why Charleston is so heated that he feels like Boosie got off clean, while the kid who did the dirty work is wasting away in a cell. And Charleston ain't holding back either. He's publicly said Boosie misled more juveniles in America than damn near anybody. He said Boosie should get the maximum sentence because he was the mastermind, the one who created this whole situation. Charleston even said he'd get in a boxing ring with Boosie just to punish him for what he did to Marlo Mike and other kids who looked up to him. Charleston said something that really stuck with me. Boosie sleep good at night because he didn't pull the trigger. That baby can't sleep. He was 15 years old with 9 bodies. He went and told because he couldn't sleep at night. Why you throwing pool parties? That baby had 9 bodies at 15 years old. He had to get it out his heart. That's why he went to the police. And that's real talk. Fam, Charleston is pointing out the hypocrisy. How you living your best life, while the kid you turned into a killer is suffering every single day. How you rapping about street code and loyalty, but left your young soldier to rot. That don't sit right with a lot of people. Now look, I already know what some of y'all gonna say, but Marlo Mike chose to do it. He pulled the trigger. He could have said no. And to some extent, that's true. He did make those choices. But let's not pretend a 15-year-old has the same judgment as a grown man. Let's not pretend Boosie didn't have influence over this kid. When you're young, and somebody with money and fame, somebody you admire, somebody representing everything you want to be, tells you to do something, you're probably going to do it. Especially when you don't have guidance. No strong father figure. No real options. This story shows you how the streets really operate. It's not always the shooters who get away. It's the ones who never get their hands dirty. The ones with money to beat cases. The ones who can afford elite lawyers. The ones who keep their image clean. Meanwhile, the young boys who do the work end up destroyed, dead, or locked up forever. And this ain't just about Boosie and Marlo Mike. This is a pattern. Older dudes using younger dudes to do dirt. Rappers with influence turning kids into shooters. A whole system profiting off black and brown bodies filling prisons. Marlo Mike is just one story out of thousands. Think about how many young boys right now are looking up to rappers who glorify violence. How many kids listening to murder music and thinking that's the way to get respect? How many 14, 15, 16-year-olds out here willing to throw their whole life away for somebody who don't really care about them? The culture got us destroying ourselves, while other people profit. And the music industry loves it. They love the authenticity. They love the street stories. They love rappers who really live that life, because it sells records. But they don't love the kids who end up dead or in prison because of it. They don't take responsibility for the influence they have. To them, it's entertainment. To us, it's real life. Marlo Mike's story should be a warning to every young dude out there trying to prove himself. Don't let nobody, I don't care how famous they are, I don't care how much money they got, turn you into their weapon. Because when it's all said and done, you the one who got to live with what you did. You the one who can't sleep at night. You the one sitting in a cell while they out here living their best life. And to Boosie Badazz, if you listening, Charleston White and a lot of other people feel like you owe that boy something, whether that's fighting for his release, whether that's speaking on what really happened, whether that's using your platform to help change these laws so other kids don't end up like Marlo Mike. Because right now, fam, it look like you used a child, threw him away and kept it moving. And maybe that ain't the full story. Maybe there's more to it. But perception is reality in the court of public opinion. The least you could do is advocate for juvenile justice reform. Use your platform to talk about how the system targets our kids. Talk about how we as a culture need to stop glorifying violence and start protecting our youth. Show some accountability. Show some growth. Because if you're really about that life you rap about, you should care about the soldiers who went down for you. At the end of the day, this story bigger than Boosie and Marlo Mike. This is about a culture that glorifies violence, that turns kids into killers, then acts surprised when they end up dead or in prison. We gotta do better. We gotta protect our youth. We gotta stop letting rappers and street dudes use young boys as pawns in their games. We gotta start having real conversations about the music we consume and the messages we sending to the next generation. We gotta start holding people accountable. Not just the kids who pull the triggers, but the adults who manipulate them into doing it. We gotta reform a justice system that throws away children without giving them a real chance to grow and change. Marlo Mike sitting in Angola State Penitentiary right now, probably wishing he could go back and make different choices, probably replaying those moments in his head every single day, probably wishing somebody had told him no, protected him, showed him a different path. But he can't change the past. All he can do now is hope that maybe, just maybe, somebody with power and influence will fight for him. And right now, Charleston White, the only one really doing that. So the question is, will it be enough? Will Marlo Mike ever see freedom again? Or will he die in prison for crimes he committed when his brain wasn't even fully developed? That's up to the courts, the lawyers, the activists, and maybe, if he got any conscience left, Boosie himself. So what y'all think? Should Marlo Mike get another chance? Should Boosie be held accountable? Should we as a culture do more to protect our youth from being exploited? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe. Because we dive into the stories the culture don't want to talk about. We have the uncomfortable conversations. Because that's the only way change happens. Until next time, stay safe. Protect the youth. And remember, real strength ain't in how many bodies you got. It's in how many lives you save.